Last time we spoke with Andrew Klavan, he just released his second book in the Homelander series. And now PJTV has the first interview with Andrew about his new adult thriller, Identity Man. Who is the Identity Man? Stand by for the PJTV interview. You know him from Klavan on the Culture, but if you haven't read one of his thrillers, you're really missing out, and you're not helping him put his kids through college. With me now is Andrew Klavan to talk about his new novel, Identity Man. Andrew, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
So tell us about this story.
Well, this is a tale about a petty thief, really, a guy named John Shannon. And one day he goes out on a job and he does the only decent thing he's ever done in his life, which is he rescues a woman who's being attacked. And because no good deed goes unpunished, he winds up on the run from the law, framed for murder, with facing possible execution or at least life in prison. At which point he gets this kind of mysterious message from a stranger who says he's going to give him a brand new life, a new face, new records, a new place to live. And he's so desperate he takes the offer, and that's when his troubles begin. Because
a new identity.
A new identity, and nothing is what it seems.
So what inspired you to write this book?
Well, actually, the original inspiration is kind of personal. I mean, I am, as you know, I was raised a Jewish liberal, and I ended up a Christian conservative. And it raised a lot of issues. I had to struggle very mightily with questions of identity, with questions of race. Was I betraying my race? Was I turning my back on my culture? And so I wanted to tell a story about a man who has a chance to start again and ask what's essentially, to me, the great American question, which is, how free are you to reinvent yourself? How free are you to create your own identity? And I didn't really have a hook for the story until I paid a visit to the city of New Orleans about a year after Katrina. And I was given a tour of some of the worst disaster areas and talked to some of the people there. And it suddenly occurred to me that people in this generation of Americans have been sold a bill of goods. They've been told specifically that their identity is connected to their race. You know, you're black. You can only be saved if your people are saved, instead of that you're an individual and you should recreate yourself. Both approaches have their cost, but I think the cost of identity politics, as it's called, is much greater. And so I wanted to write a novel, basically, that asks the question, what is your identity? What makes you who you are?
Well, you kind of touched on it in the beginning of the novel. When you first open the book, we find this character kind of in the middle of a flood. We don't really know what's going on. So that was inspired by post-Katrina events.
Yeah, the city that the book takes place in is not New Orleans, and it's not Detroit.
You never say in the book.
No, I never say what it is, and it's kind of an amalgam of those cities and a lot of cities that have been gutted by identity politics, that have been gutted by people playing to race and saying we're going to raise you up as a race, and in fact have sunk mostly black people into this terrible morass of generational poverty, all the while promising to lift them out of it. And so it's kind of a combination of all those cities.
Take us through the process of writing a novel like this.
Well, I'm a very careful writer, so I outline everything even before I do the research. I kind of want to know everything that's going to happen for the simple reason that it allows me the freedom to create my characters.
So you know the ending, but you don't know how to get from beginning to end?
I think I know the ending.
Okay.
I think I know what's going to happen, but what happens in the middle of books is your characters come to life and they start to make decisions on their own. And in fact, when I got about halfway through this book, I realized that my outline wasn't going to work. And so I had to put it aside for 6 months until the characters kind of informed me what it was they wanted to do, how they wanted to get to the end of the story, and then I could go back and finish it.
What do you hope to achieve by viewers reading Identity Man? Well,
the first thing is I hope you found it a fast-moving thriller, and I hope always to tell exciting stories. The thing I always wanted to do, from the day I started out till today, is I wanted to tell really fast-moving stories, bullet-fast stories, that also dealt with the large issues of life in America and just life, spiritual life, political life, all those things. And so what I want to give you is a really entertaining, fast-moving, cinematic experience, but one that also, when you put it down, you think, gee, that actually raised some questions that I have to think about. And so I hope that's what I achieved.
I saw you put you put it's a thriller about identity politics in an age where we define identity as race and gender, and you touched on that. But what I want to know is, what do you think makes us who we are?
Well, it's a very complicated question, and that's why, I mean, I wouldn't have written a novel about it if I could have said straight out what I think it is, because it really is a mystery who we are. You know, we know that the way we're raised matters, but we know that you can raise two people in the same way and get completely different results. So you are born as something. Nowadays, I think that there is a real effort by a certain group of intellectuals to extinguish the idea of a mysterious self, to sort of sell you on the idea that it's just a hallucination your brain is having, that you have a personality at all, or that it's some kind of mechanical process. I don't believe that. I believe that we are something more than the sum total of our parts. What exactly is difficult to say, but something mysterious that makes us who we are.
And it seems like after reading this book, our circumstances don't define us, that you really can choose who you become. It doesn't matter where you've come from, but where you're going.
I think that there is a certain amount of freedom we have and a certain amount of price you pay for exercising that freedom. Nothing is free. Nothing comes without expense. And I think that I tried to explore the ways. I didn't try to give you just a happy talk answer, but I tried to explore the ways that what happens to you when you go forward toward what you think is the light, what you have to pay, what price you have to pay to get there.
And I wanted to say that you're also having another book come out around the same time.
I know. It's a
How do you do this all?
Well, it all sort of came crashing together. I have the third book in the Homelander series, The Truth of the Matter, is coming out. That's for young adults. And it asks similar questions, but for young adults. And so those are coming out at the same time, as well as some short stories and Christmas stories. It's a big season for me.
You are just a writing mogul.
It just kind of came crashing together. I'm not really writing that fast.
Well, Andrew, I look forward to interviewing you about your next book coming out from the
I look
Homelander
forward to
series.
it. Thanks.
Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. Sure.
And you can find Identity Man on Amazon.com. It's a fabulous read. And if you're a PJTV member, check out the exclusive private forum with Andrew. We'll get to ask him questions about his book, his videos, and which team's going to win the Super Bowl this year. And don't forget to check out PJTV for all the Klavan on the Culture videos. For PJTV, I'm Brandy Malloy.